everyone, and welcome back to CoinTalk Podcast on YouTube. We're diving into some really interesting research today.
Yeah.
All about how Bitcoin is weathering some pretty big storms in the market.
It is.
You sent us some fascinating data from Matrixport.
Yeah.
And today we're going to break down what it means for you as you navigate the crypto world.
It's definitely a shift from what we were seeing just a couple of years ago.
Right.
Remember when a big Bitcoin sell-off could send the entire market into a frenzy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Felt like every other day we were on the edge of our seats wondering if Bitcoin was about to go to zero.
Yeah.
So what's changed?
Well, one of the key takeaways from the Matrixport research is that we're seeing huge Bitcoin liquidations.
Okay.
Sometimes up to $600 million in a single day.
Wow.
But the price isn't plummeting like it used to.
Really?
It's actually holding relatively steady.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So what's keeping those massive sell-offs from tanking the market?
One major factor is leverage.
Okay.
Or more specifically, the lack of it. Back in 2020 and 2021, traders were using tons of leverage.
Right.
Basically borrowing money to amplify their bets on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
When the price went down, their positions got automatically liquidated to prevent further losses, and that created a cascade effect,
Okay.
pushing the price down even further.
Okay, so imagine a whole line of dominoes getting knocked over.
Exactly.
One liquidation triggers another and so on.
Yeah.
There's a really clear way to visualize it.
Exactly. But now the leverage in the system is much lower.
Okay.
Traders aren't borrowing as much. So there's less forced selling when the price dips. It's like taking the air out of a balloon before it can burst.
Fewer dominoes to knock over.
Yes.
Got it. So is it all about leverage, or are there other forces at play here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like traders just woke up one day and decided to stop borrowing money, right?
You're absolutely right. It's not just about the amount of leverage.
Okay.
Traders are also setting smarter stop losses.
Now, for those of you watching CoinTalk Podcast on YouTube who might be new to this,
Yes.
a stop loss is essentially a safety net.
Right.
It's an order you place to automatically sell your Bitcoin if the price falls below a certain level.
Exactly.
So it limits your losses and helps to prevent panic selling.
And what we're seeing now is that traders are being more strategic with their stop losses.
Okay.
Instead of setting them based on emotion or reacting impulsively,
Right.
they're placing them at levels that align with their overall trading strategy.
So they're thinking ahead and planning their exits,
Right.
which helps to create more stability in the market.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Wild West days of Bitcoin are fading,
Yeah.
and we're entering a new era of more mature and disciplined trading.
That's a really interesting observation. It does seem like the market is maturing, at least to some degree.
Yeah.
And there's another factor that I think is contributing to this shift.
Okay.
The potential approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs.
Okay, now this is where things get really intriguing. Spot Bitcoin ETFs have been a hot topic in the crypto world for years.
Absolutely.
And the SEC's decision on whether to approve them could have a huge impact on the market.
Yeah.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's break this down for our viewers on CoinTalk Podcast who might not be familiar with ETFs.
Absolutely. An ETF, or exchange traded fund, is basically a basket of assets that you can buy or sell on an exchange, just like a stock.
Got it.
So a spot Bitcoin ETF would track the price of Bitcoin and allow investors to gain exposure to it without actually having to buy and hold the cryptocurrency directly.
Right, so it's like buying a slice of the Bitcoin pie without having to bake the whole thing yourself.
Exactly. And the reason this is such a big deal is that it would make it much easier for mainstream investors,
Right.
including institutional investors, to invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right now, there are some hurdles to overcome,
Okay.
especially when it comes to custody and security.
Yeah.
But a spot Bitcoin ETF would streamline the process and make it more accessible for a wider range of investors.
And that influx of institutional money could further stabilize the market and drive up the price of Bitcoin.
It's certainly a possibility, and I think the mere anticipation of a spot Bitcoin ETF being approved is already having an impact on trader sentiment. It's like a vote of confidence from the traditional financial world.
So you're saying that even the prospect of a spot Bitcoin ETF could be contributing to the market's resilience.
It's definitely a factor to consider, and it ties into the broader conversation about the growing acceptance and legitimacy of Bitcoin as an asset class.
Right.
We're seeing more and more institutional investors dipping their toes into the crypto waters, and that's a sign that the landscape is changing.
It's amazing to see how far Bitcoin has come.
It is.
I remember when it was seen as this fringe speculative asset.
Yeah.
And now it's being embraced by major financial institutions.
Exactly.
So we've got lower leverage, smarter stop losses, and the potential for spot Bitcoin ETFs. All of these factors seem to be playing a role in creating a more stable and resilient Bitcoin market.
That's a great summary. But here's where it gets really fascinating.
Okay.
Even with all of these positive developments, there are still some warning signs flashing in the market.
Really?
One indicator that I'm watching closely is something called the inter-exchange flow pulse.
Okay, now that's a mouthful.
Oh, it is.
Break it down for us CoinTalk Podcast viewers. What is the inter-exchange flow pulse and why should we care?
It's essentially a measure of how much Bitcoin is flowing between spot exchanges, where people buy and sell the actual Bitcoin,
Got it.
and derivatives exchanges,
Okay.
where people trade contracts based on the price of Bitcoin.
Got it. So it's tracking the movement of Bitcoin between different types of exchanges.
Right.
But what does that tell us about the market?
Well, typically, when more Bitcoin flows into derivatives exchanges, it's a sign of bullish momentum. Traders are gearing up for potential price increases, and they're using derivatives to amplify their bets.
Okay.
Think of it like adding fuel to the fire.
More fuel, more fire, more price action.
Yes.
Makes sense.
But here's the catch. Right now, the inter-exchange flow pulse is flashing a bearish signal. We're seeing more Bitcoin flowing out of derivatives exchanges and into spot exchanges.
So the fuel's being taken away from the fire.
Right.
Even though the price of Bitcoin is holding relatively steady.
Exactly. And that raises an important question.
Okay.
Why are traders moving their Bitcoin out of derivatives if they're still bullish on the price?
That is a head scratcher.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
But no one's quite sure what it will be. What's your take on this?
Well, it could be a sign of caution.
Okay.
Traders might be taking profits off the table or reducing their risk exposure in anticipation of a potential market correction.
Got it.
It's like they're battening down the hatches just in case a storm is brewing.
So even though we're seeing these positive signs, lower leverage, smarter trading, and the buzz around spot Bitcoin ETFs,
right,
this bearish signal from the inter-exchange flow pulse suggests that we should still be cautious.
Precisely. It's a reminder that the crypto market is still relatively young and unpredictable. It's a bit like navigating uncharted waters. We have some landmarks and a better understanding of the currents, but there's always the potential for unexpected squalls.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And for all of you watching CoinTalk Podcast on YouTube, what do you think is driving this cautious sentiment?
Yeah.
Share your thoughts and theories in the comments. We love hearing from you.
Engagement helps everyone learn.
Right.
Now, if liquidations aren't causing the wild price swings we used to see, the big question becomes what is influencing Bitcoin's price? And perhaps more importantly, how low can it go?
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Remember those days when people were genuinely worried Bitcoin would crash to zero?
Oh, yeah.
It was the ultimate fear factor for anyone even thinking about investing.
I remember those days well. The doomsday predictions were everywhere.
Right. But now the conversation has shifted.
It has.
It's not about Bitcoin going to zero anymore.
Right.
It's about understanding its downside potential. Even with these signs pointing to a more resilient market, risks still exist.
Right. Absolutely. While the market might be less susceptible to those massive liquidation cascades, there are still factors that could trigger a significant Bitcoin price drop.
Like what?
Unexpected regulatory crackdowns, for example, could really shake investor confidence and lead to a sell-off.
True regulatory uncertainty is always a concern in the crypto space.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about those ever-present macroeconomic factors: inflation, rising interest rates, global conflicts.
Right.
All of those external forces can definitely impact Bitcoin's price too. But I'm curious, from your expert perspective, what specific factors are you watching most closely that could potentially send Bitcoin tumbling?
Well, one thing that keeps me up at night is the potential for a so-called black swan event.
Okay, I've heard that term before, but remind me what exactly qualifies as a black swan event. Sounds pretty ominous.
It is. Think of it as an event that's almost impossible to predict, has a huge impact, and often only makes sense in hindsight.
Okay.
It's not just a regular market dip. It's something completely out of left field that changes the game entirely.
So what are some real-world examples of black swan events, specifically those that could impact Bitcoin? Because I have to say, thinking about unpredictable, catastrophic events is making me a little nervous.
Imagine, for example, a major government suddenly announcing a complete ban on Bitcoin trading and ownership.
Oh, wow.
That would send shockwaves through the market and likely cause a significant price drop.
Okay.
Or what if a critical vulnerability were discovered in the Bitcoin protocol itself?
Right.
That could undermine trust in its security and lead to widespread panic selling.
Those are some pretty scary scenarios. And I guess that's why it's crucial to stay informed and keep an eye on those potential risks. It's all about managing expectations and understanding that while Bitcoin may not be heading to zero, it's still a volatile asset.
Exactly. Awareness is key. And that's why we're here on CoinTalk Podcast to help you make sense of the complex world of crypto and navigate those uncertainties.
And speaking of CoinTalk Podcasts, for all of you watching on YouTube, what potential black swan events worry you the most?
Yeah.
Leave a comment and let's discuss.
Good idea.
Your insights might help someone else, and we might all learn something new.
That's a great call to action. It's important to have these conversations and understand the full spectrum of possibilities,
Right.
both positive and negative.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
from liquidations to market sentiment to black swan events. But before we look ahead to the future, I think it's important to step back and recap what we've learned so far.
Okay, sounds good. A recap is always helpful, especially when we're dealing with such dense information. I think it's a good practice for everyone watching CoinTalk Podcast too. Take a moment to reflect on what you've learned and make sure it all makes sense.
Absolutely. So to recap, we've seen how Bitcoin liquidations are playing out differently than they did in the past.
Right.
Lower leverage and more strategic trading seem to be keeping those massive sell-offs in check. However, the inter-exchange flow pulse is giving us a bit of a mixed signal, suggesting that there might be some underlying bearish sentiment brewing beneath the surface.
I see.
And even though the narrative has shifted away from Bitcoin going to zero, it's crucial to acknowledge the potential for unexpected events that could significantly impact the price.
That's a great summary. It seems like the market is in a bit of a holding pattern, waiting to see what happens next. And that brings us to a crucial question for all of you CoinTalk Podcast subscribers.
Yeah.
If liquidations aren't the primary driver of the market like they used to be, what forces are shaping Bitcoin's price? What's keeping it relatively stable, and what could trigger the next big move? Leave your thoughts in the comments.
Great question. Is it the anticipation of regulatory clarity?
Yeah.
The growing institutional interest, macroeconomic forces, or perhaps a combination of all of these factors?
Right.
The answer likely lies in a complex interplay of influences.
Yeah.
It's a puzzle with many pieces, and understanding how those pieces fit together is key to navigating the crypto market effectively.
It's fascinating to see how the narrative around Bitcoin is evolving. What was once a fringe asset is now being discussed in boardrooms and debated in government hearings. And that brings us to a topic we can't ignore: the regulatory landscape.
Right.
Regulation has been a hot topic in the crypto space for years, and it continues to shape the industry in profound ways.
Right. And it's not always easy to keep up with the latest developments. Every country seems to have its own approach, and the rules are constantly evolving.
It's like trying to hit a moving target. But I'm curious to hear your perspective on how regulation is impacting Bitcoin specifically. What are the key developments that our CoinTalk Podcast viewers need to be aware of?
Well, one thing that's become clear is that governments around the world are taking Bitcoin seriously.
They are.
They're recognizing its potential to disrupt the traditional financial system, and they're grappling with how to regulate it effectively.
And those regulatory decisions can have a huge impact on Bitcoin's price and adoption, right?
Absolutely. Positive regulations, like the approval of those spot Bitcoin ETFs we were discussing earlier, could boost confidence and attract a wave of institutional investment.
Right.
On the other hand, negative regulations like outright bans or heavy-handed restrictions could stifle innovation and scare investors away.
It's a delicate balancing act. Governments want to protect consumers and prevent illicit activities.
Yeah.
But they also don't want to crush innovation or miss out on the potential economic benefits of this emerging technology.
Exactly. And that's why it's crucial to stay informed about the latest regulatory developments.
Right.
Understand how they could impact your crypto investments and engage in constructive dialogue with policymakers.
Yes.
Your voice matters.
And that's one of the reasons we created CoinTalk Podcast, to provide you with the information and insights you need to navigate this complex and ever-changing landscape.
Right. We're all in this together.
We are.
So let's take a closer look at some of the key regulatory developments shaping the Bitcoin market.
Okay.
One of the most significant events in recent years has been the ongoing debate over,
Oh yeah,
you guessed it,
here we go again.
spot Bitcoin ETFs.
Ah, yes. The never-ending saga.
It is.
Will they? Won't they?
Right.
The anticipation is killing me. But in all seriousness, a spot Bitcoin ETF would be a game changer.
It would?
It would make it so much easier for everyday investors to gain exposure to Bitcoin through traditional brokerage accounts.
Exactly. But the SEC has been hesitant to approve one,
Right.
citing concerns about market manipulation and investor protection.
And to be fair, those are legitimate concerns. The crypto market is still relatively young and volatile,
It is.
and we've seen our share of scams and scandals. But many experts
Right.
and a lot of our viewers on CoinTalk Podcast believe that a spot Bitcoin ETF is inevitable. It's just a matter of when, not if.
And when that day comes, get ready for a potential price surge. We could see a flood of institutional money pouring into Bitcoin.
It would be like opening the floodgates.
Yeah.
And it's not just the US that's grappling with crypto regulation.
Yeah.
The European Union is making some interesting moves with its MiCA regulation.
Right. MiCA, which stands for Markets in Crypto Assets,
Right.
aims to create a comprehensive regulatory framework for crypto assets across the entire EU.
It's an ambitious undertaking.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're trying to harmonize crypto regulations across all those different countries
Yeah,
and create a more stable and transparent market environment.
exactly. And it's a model that other regions might follow.
Right.
If successful, MiCA could set a global standard for crypto regulation.
It's definitely something to watch closely. And for all of you CoinTalk Podcast viewers, what are your thoughts on spot Bitcoin ETFs and MiCA?
Yeah.
Do you think they're positive developments for the crypto industry? Let us know in the comments.
We love hearing your perspectives.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that regulation isn't just about creating rules.
Right.
It's also about enforcement, and that's where things can get tricky.
Right. Crypto assets are global and decentralized by nature,
They are.
which makes it difficult for regulators to enforce their rules effectively. It's not like they could just shut down a server and call it a day.
That's the challenge, and it's why it's so important for the crypto industry to work proactively with regulators, find solutions that protect consumers and prevent illicit activities, while also fostering innovation and growth.
It's about finding that sweet spot, that balance between regulation and innovation.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the big question that everyone wants an answer to.
Okay.
The future of Bitcoin. What do you see happening in the next few years?
Well, if I had a crystal ball, I'd be on a beach somewhere sipping mojitos instead of talking to you.
I hear you. But seriously, what's your take on Bitcoin's trajectory?
Okay, no mojitos, just speculation. Based on what we've seen so far, I believe Bitcoin has a bright future.
Yeah.
It has overcome numerous challenges and emerged stronger each time.
It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And it continues to gain mainstream acceptance.
Yeah.
More businesses are accepting Bitcoin as payment, and those institutional investors we keep talking about are increasingly dipping their toes into the crypto waters.
And let's not forget about the technological advancements happening behind the scenes. The Lightning Network is making Bitcoin transactions faster and cheaper.
Right.
And developments like Taproot are enhancing its privacy and scalability.
It's an exciting time to be a part of the Bitcoin ecosystem. And while there will undoubtedly be bumps along the road, we've learned that much today, I believe Bitcoin is well positioned to become a major force in the global financial system.
It's a vision worth sharing. And for all of you CoinTalk Podcast viewers out there, what are your predictions for the future of Bitcoin? Let us know in the comments.
What do you think the Bitcoin world will look like in 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah.
We're eager to hear your thoughts. And remember, the future of Bitcoin is in our hands. By supporting its development, adoption, and responsible regulation, we can help shape its destiny and unlock its full potential.
Well said. It's a collaborative effort. And that brings us to the end of another insightful deep dive here on CoinTalk Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
We hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new about Bitcoin and the crypto market.
And remember, if you want to stay ahead of the curve in the ever-evolving world of crypto, subscribe to CoinTalk Podcast on YouTube.
Yes.
Hit that notification bell and tell your friends.
And while you're at it, give this video a like and leave a comment. We appreciate your support. Until next time, happy trading.
And stay curious.
So we've talked about the big picture, the regulations, the future, but let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. What does all of this mean for the average person who's just starting to dip their toes into the crypto waters? What advice would you give to someone who's watching CoinTalk Podcast for the first time and feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this information?
That's such an important question. It's easy to get lost in the macro trends and the jargon, but at the end of the day, people want to know how this impacts their lives and their wallets. My advice: start by remembering that Bitcoin and crypto in general is a marathon, not a sprint.
I love that analogy. It's so easy to get caught up in the hype and the FOMO, especially when you see those eye-popping headlines about Bitcoin's price swings. But it's crucial to approach it with a long-term mindset and a healthy dose of caution.
Exactly. Don't throw all your savings into Bitcoin just because you heard someone on YouTube, even someone as charming and insightful as yourself, say it's going to the moon. Do your research, understand the risks, and start small.
That's right. And this is where CoinTalk Podcast comes in. We're here to help you learn, explore, and make informed decisions. We break down complex concepts, analyze market trends, and share insights from experts like yourself. And remember, it's okay to ask questions. The crypto community is full of passionate and knowledgeable individuals who are happy to help.
Absolutely. We're all learning and growing together in this space. And the more we share our knowledge and insights, the stronger the crypto community becomes. And here's another piece of advice for those new to crypto. Remember that diversification is key. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, even if that basket is Bitcoin.
So true. Explore other crypto assets, consider traditional investments, and build a portfolio that aligns with your risk tolerance and financial goals. It's all about finding the right balance for you.
Exactly. And remember, investing is a personal journey. What works for one person might not work for another. So take your time, learn as much as you can, and don't be afraid to seek guidance from trusted sources. There are plenty of resources available, including, of course, CoinTalk Podcast on YouTube.
Shameless plug. But seriously, we're passionate about empowering people with knowledge and helping them navigate the crypto world with confidence.
And I think that's what makes CoinTalk Podcast so valuable. It's more than just entertainment, it's education. You're providing a real service to the crypto community by breaking down these complex topics and making them accessible to everyone.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And we're incredibly grateful to all of our viewers and subscribers who make this show possible. To wrap things up, I think we can all agree that Bitcoin is a force to be reckoned with. It's challenged our assumptions about money, finance, and technology. And while the road ahead may be uncertain at times, the future of Bitcoin is full of possibilities.
I couldn't agree more. And as we continue to explore this uncharted territory, remember that knowledge is power. The more we understand about Bitcoin, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead.
And that's where CoinTalk Podcast comes in. We're here to be your guide, your resource, your partner in this exciting journey. So be sure to subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and join us as we continue to explore the fascinating world of crypto.
And don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. The more people we can reach with this information, the better.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and remember, the future is decentralized.